So let me get this straight. So we're pop locking in the late 70s, 70, 78, 79. 1980, we flipped the script, and now we're Playboy Gangster Crip.
Yeah, and it's slowly pushing the dancing away because fighting is more important than dancing. You know what I mean? So it's more critical because these dudes jump my brother, or these dudes beat me up at Midtown or something like that. So now it's something else.
Video, you know this is for sure. Video, open your soul, represent your ghetto, baby.
Who are your guys' original gang rivalry?
School Yard Crips.
What's the story behind that?
Story behind that, a lot of stories as far as fighting is females, on the phone, or somebody, maybe got a gangbanging complex. See people like that we used to stab in the pen, people with gangbanging complexes. Not really about it, because gangsters don't brag, but just people on the phone saying stuff they shouldn't be saying, woofing, you know what I mean? And then they came to our party on Garth, and one of them got killed, and that started it.
What year was that?
That was about 1980, right after we started.
So this is not a Hamilton High versus LA High or going up the Ward on Wheels. This is in the neighborhood.
And that was before World War, I think. I don't even know Ward on Wheels was there, wasn't it, bro? I think. Yeah. Well, I think it was just a bowling alley. I don't know. Yeah, but it didn't have nothing to do with World on Wheels. Well, I've never been in World on Wheels.
I always thought that Shorelines was your guys' original enemy, but it's really Schoolyard.
Actually, when it comes to skirmishes, Venice, yeah, we fought them, but we wasn't Playboy Gangsters. We had a show on Pico, not see you. That's where you want me to go. You want me to go back into the dirty. So we up at it's a show called The Lido, right? It was 99 cents. It was on Pico and La Cienega, Nasa Bank. Okay, that show that night played Cooley High, on Cornbread Earl and me, and what was the other, Jeff? JD's Revenge. All three them movies for 99 cents, bro. Everybody even from Africa was coming up there. Everything black came there that day, and they came there, and we was all there because that's right in our neighborhood. And I think Ducci, he's a G from Venice Shoreline. Somebody stepped on his shoe. Some biscuits. Back then, if you stepped on somebody's biscuits, they're gonna tell you to wipe them off. And the homeboy was like, "No, I'm not wiping it off." And we start fighting. And then it became a major riot. The police had riot gear, all kind of stuff, man. So.
And that's the official incident that kicked it off at the show. We're dancing right now. We're not
even. I don't even think we was barely dancing. We were just them dudes over there. You know what I mean? We was always just them dudes over there. Even Crenshaw. We used to fight Crenshaw all the time. Hamilton and Crenshaw used to fight almost every game. But we was just them dudes over there. We wasn't Playboy Gangsters.
So that incident when the schoolyards come to the PBG hood and a schoolyard gets killed, full-fledged war after that?
Oh yes, sir. There's nothing like it. I mean, yeah. You can't. That's what people don't understand when they sign on. You know what I mean? This ain't no game. This ain't Nintendo. I don't have extra lives. Nigga, you got to be about it or just get out of it. Don't even get in it. My advice is don't get in it. If you ain't ready to die for it right now, don't get in it.
So who's the next Crip beef after Schoolyards?
Well, that morphed into, because us and Marvin was so cool, they ended up killing on Marvin. So now Marvin but they was in it anyway. They was there that night they came over there. So now we all into it. It's Marvin and Playboy, then Schoolyards, and then Geer Gang. Geer Gang was with the Schoolyards. So
wait a minute, the Schoolyards turned on the Marvins because of you guys?
Well, we always been recognized to be together. If you see a Marvin, you see a Playboy, period.
And when you talk about that death, you talk about Mad Rod?
Yeah, it was Mad Rod, right from Poindexter.
1980.
Uh-huh.
So all these beefs are kicking off in 1980.
Uh-huh. Because that's when we start really banging.
By 1983, detectives of the West Bureau Gang Detail and local newspapers would agree. The Playboy Gangster Crips and the Marvin Gangster Crips on one side, Schoolyard Crips and Geer Gang Crips on the other. One particular time it was said that 15 members of the Playboys and Marvins marched in a gear hood armed with sticks, chains, and rocks down Carlin Street, smashing windows of several cars and the ground floor of 5411 Carlin Street.
Tell us the when you guys became official enemies with the Shorelines. What was the story behind that? The official gang beef, PBG versus Shoreline.
To be honest, it wasn't nothing big or official. We just did not like each other, period. So whenever we seen each other at a party, it always went like that.
So basically everything lined up with Playboy Marvin on this side, School Yard, Shorelines, and Geers on that
But
side.
Shoreline is way at the beach. It's just the connections. Like, what really, I mean, you got to talk about Royce. Royce grew up in Midtown, and the Glen, the Boyles and all that, they grew up in Midtown. So when they moved to Venice, that kind of hooked them up, you know, just by this guy knowing this guy knowing this guy, and they becoming real close, so they run together.
You mentioned Royce. Who's Royce?
Royce, he was a big name, big time West Side Crip. Royce Woolwear, yeah.
What's the story behind him? What's his story?
Venice Shoreline.
And what, he started off in y'all area?
No, he started off in Midtown. Yeah. But he went to Fauché, you know, that's where my homie went, Fauché and all that. So he just was a West Side dude at first, like, you know.
Let me ask a question. It seems like a lot of West LA influence is the Harlems.
A lot of it, yeah.
The schoolyards and
Yeah,
some
yeah. Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah. We that's, it don't, even when the Rolling was out and all that, we didn't look at Harlem like they rolling with the 60s. We would never get into it with Harlem. Never.
Now that Mac mentioned that, explain to us where the 3 times come from. Is that something through the Harlems? Where'd you guys even pick up being Trays?
Three times is gangster. If you claim gangster, you claim Trays. And here's a funny part that I didn't get to when I was finna fight the Hoovers, because they start saying 7 times. They start saying, oh, this is 7 times. So I said, now I don't know what times is. I'm just becoming a gangbanger. I don't know the rules yet. So I said 10 times just to say a bigger number than theirs. And you know what they said? I told you them niggas was bloods.
So the 3 times has nothing to do with the 3 golf hats? The three.
Well, you put that on because you are 3 times. Yeah. But it's trade. Anytime you say gangster, it's trade.
Nowadays, but back then, what was going on back then for you guys to say Trays?
Well, here's the thing. Well, who was the first Gangster Crips? Exactly. So they set the stage, Trey Gangster. So they set the stage for trades. So whenever you go, not saying that they came like Big Skull and Melvin Farmer and them came over there and said, Jesse, y'all gotta be. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you say gangsters, you're saying tradesmen. You say neighborhood, you with the 60s. That's it.
So did you guys adopt this after you guys started going to YA in prison and being?
We started learning it. It was already going on.
I was always under the impression, since we know that the Godfathers had an influence in West LA.
Big
Harlem Godfathers. We heard of these guys called Pico Godfathers.
Yeah.
Marvin Godfathers.
Yeah, they was Godfathers.
So I always was under the assumption that you guys got the 3 times through the 30s.
No.
Okay. Tell us about Bible Crips.
That's basically what you're saying is schoolyard. Bible Crips is Bobo, Forehead, Royce, all them dudes. They was Bible Crips. And then the same neighborhood they started Schoolyard Crip. So Bible, they was around the time of James Miller and all them. They were like early 72 and all that stuff.
So look, so the PBGs are pretty much the new kids on the block in West LA, 1980. Everybody else was up and running when you guys went from pop locking to Crip.
When it comes to Godfather, yeah, but basically Schoolyard and all that, we all started around the same time.
Geers?
It's not when you start, it's when you finish. Not saying that because I got a lot of love for Schoolyards and all that. You know, me, El Crazy Mike, Big Blue was my niggas, man. We chop it up and all that, you know.
So you give the Schoolyards, the Geers, the Marvins and all that the same year as PBG?
Now, I'm not saying the same exact year because things don't happen like that, but around the same time frame.
You went
To be honest with you, West Boulevard, we haven't even talked about them. They was out before all of us.
Yeah, you wouldn't give West Boulevard and
No.
Marvin Godfathers the original West LA.
Yeah, the Godfather part. Yeah, but Marvin and Playboy was pretty much born together. Maybe a little bit before on Marvin because they had influence. But you know, Scott Dog and all them dudes. You know, them are my homies. We were born together.
So when you say Marvin, you're talking about when they transitioned to Marvin Gangsters?
Yeah, not Harlem Godfather was a different. That's different. That's Big Spit and all them. Those are older cats. They older than me.
So the Marvin Godfathers is a whole different situation than Marvin Gangsters?
Not really. That's their nephews and their little brothers and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Who were the Marvin Godfathers? Who were they? Can you give me a roll call?
You got Spit, Cotton, and all them. I don't know a lot of them. I didn't spend a lot of time over there before. He didn't know them. I don't.
Big Wicked.
Oh, Big Wicked. Yeah, Big Wicked went to school with me. He's a Marvin, but he was a Godfather. And like I said, we lived in Harlem Hood. You see, they go to influence again. You know what I mean? So he was the only one from our age that was really a Godfather. He's the old. I've known him longer than anybody in the hood because we went to elementary school together.
The beef with the Geers. What's the story behind that?
Well, that pretty much came through the Marvins and through the beef with the schoolyards because the schoolyards and Marvins, the schoolyards and Geer Gang, that they was already kicking it with each other and all that. So.
One of my guys had mentioned that before PBG, you guys were Cienega Crips?
Cienega Crips.
Cienega Crips.
Yeah, I started that with my homie Big Insane. It didn't last. It didn't take off nowhere. We didn't have a crew. It was just me and him hanging together for a season, and then he went to YA. So when we started Playboy Gangster, he was still claiming Cienega. That's why you heard about it, because it's some people from YA that remember that.
So the first death from PBG, who was that?
The first death from PBG was my homeboy Points. He got killed in a robbery of, I think he was robbing a bread truck or something like that.
So what years were you at Hamilton High School?
77 to 80, but I wasn't always there. I got kicked out of, matter of fact, I got kicked out of all LA city schools. I went to LA, Fairfax, Sherwood Hills.
What was the gang landscape at Hamilton when you were there? Were we still pop locking, or was there gang members?
We were still pop locking, yeah.
So after high school, what are you doing?
Back gang banging. Yeah.
When did you start going to prison?
I went to prison in 1982. Mm-hmm. Never been away.
Straight to prison.
Straight to prison. Hard time for me, man, because I didn't nobody know what Playboy Gangster was. None of them dudes had went to the pen yet. Monster and all them knew, but they hadn't went to the pen yet. You know what I mean? Because I was older. I was older than Monster. So when I got to the pen, didn't nobody know what Playboy Gangster was. They thought I was making it up.
Let's rewind. When you hit the county jail, well, Crip Miles wasn't up and running in 82.
No, it wasn't.
So what was the county jail experience like in 82?
For me, it was hard because the crime I did was like real big, and so it was a lot of people looking for me. So
you want to elaborate on that crime?
I don't really want to go all the way into it.
We don't have.
But it was attempted murder. It wasn't nothing scandalous or nothing. It's just that it was just big, you know, as far as our war. You know, with the homies and stuff, with the schoolyards and stuff like that. It was just, Jesse Jackson, that's when my name was like, they knew who I was because we all went to school together. So when they see me in the county, they go, well, that nigga right there. So,
So LA County Jail in 1982 wasn't on the racial tip then? It was gangbanging?
There was a lot of white folks still going there in 1980.
So what was the politics like in LA County in 82? Was it South Sides and blacks Was it Crip on Crip?
What,
was
in the pen?
atmosphere in '82?
In the pen, when I went to the pen in '82.
Well, I want to cover county before we hop to the pen.
Okay, county was no. The Serenos was our homies. They wore blue rags. This teardrop I got on my face, a Sereno, a dude from 18 Popeye from 18th Street did that. So why would I let him get that close to my bad eye? You know what I'm saying? But we didn't have a problem with them then. The problem didn't start until like 80, 83, 84.
So in '82, there was no racial politics
It was
in LA County Jail.
No. The Woods and the Chicans is tight in the pen, but back then the Woods used to get robbed by the Mexicans and all that. So they wasn't hooked up. The only reason they hooked up was because of us, the Crips and the Bloods. So it was too much.
So after you catch the chain, where do you catch the chain to? What's your first prison?
Believe it or not, Tracy, Gladiator School, the worst gangbanging prison you can go to.
And why is that?
Well, for me, when I was coming down off of on orientation, like you come in with the waist chains and you seeing the prison for the first time, it looked like it was Christmas. There was so many Bloods there. I had never seen Bloods flag like that. You know what I mean? Unless you go in the jungle or unless you go in the 20s. You wouldn't see it. I mean, it was just like a sea of blood, dude. It just tripped me out. I was like, man, where the hell? And we got into it. That's who we got into it with first. It was Crips and Bloods getting down, especially in Tracy and Soledad.
What was the relationships with the Crips with each other back then?
Tracy. Back then, pens like Tracy, third level and stuff like that, they still kind of beef. You know what I mean? They were kind of beef. Just like when I start hanging with Lil Feet, he used to say, hey, I'm cool. I don't want any triple A truck gangster. But if I see Monster, it's on. It's certain ones that you ain't gonna let that go. You know what I mean? So same thing with Monster. He would say the same thing. So they was doing it in YA. Real bad, they attack each other in YA, but in the pen we had Crip cars. So if you have the Crip car, like we had Blue Magic, CCO, we had Blue Note. Blue Magic was early. That was James Miller and all that. That's what I was involved with that. But at the same time, you had a Crip car, so you had somebody from A-Tray over here, somebody from 60 over here, and they in the Crip car together, then they're not gonna beef. So in that way. To me, I agree with that. That was a cool thing. It's just the politics that came later that I don't agree with at all. Like CCO, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? So
in 1982, who were some of the heavy hitters in Tracy?
And Tracy, Big Frog, people like that. Big Bob from Harlem. One of the hardest Crips I ever remember in my life. And they so strong and they even funny. I was like, man, I'm glad you're a Crip, man, because I don't want to have to fight you.
So when you're in there, are you running across any enemies from the streets, like schoolyards or shorelines?
Nah, because of the level of it, it was no PBGs, it was no schoolyards. No, the Marvins came later, Eddie Boy and them, they came later. But nah, I didn't mean none of them. I never did time with probably just one PBG ever, because after that is when it really was on. That's when I went to level 5, death row and all that. So they wasn't coming up there. It's certain levels that person really, if you come in there and you want to just do your time, break some soups, a spread, and go home. See, I never had that. I was in the hole for 10.5 years. So I was only on the main line 2 months in 10.5 years. Both months was in Tracy. The first month was me just getting it, pretty much dogged out. Oh, yeah, we don't know this nigga making up a set and all that and all. Until I got into it, and the same dudes like Rainbow, man, all them dudes, Bitter Chow from 99 Mafia, straight riders. You know what I mean? I grew up with riders, and so they was all hard on me. You know what I mean? God, nigga, you ain't know, because I hadn't made my bones yet. And then one of the homies was getting jumped by some Bloods in our unit, and I jumped in and I got stabbed in the face, and that's when they,
So you're the first PBG to hit California prison system?
Ever, yes.
Did you join any of those prison gangs?
Yeah, Blue Magic. That was all gangster. It was all like gang banging. It wasn't no politics, rules, like super rules and all that. You know what I'm saying? So
Who was the majority in Blue Magic? Who were some of the heavy hitters and names that we would know now?
well, I don't really want to name because they was an organized group, but
Okay.
but it was pretty much all of the hitters that you know, the young ones, you know, the ones I mentioned before, you know.
How long did Blue Magic last?
I'll name some that's passed because they can't dig them up.
Yeah.
You know, Rainbow, Killer D, and all them dudes, you know, Killer D, Fire Trade, you know, dudes like that, Snake from East Coast and all them dudes, you know what I mean? They was well-known names, you know what I mean? So it was like we were, because it was a lot of strong people, you know what I mean? It was a lot of riders, like main hitters from every set got together in one place, you know what I'm saying?
Who was y'all fighting? Who was Blue Magic's enemy?
At the time, Bloods. Even though, you see, you got war, and then active war. War, Cold War. It's like, I don't like you, you don't like me, you know what I mean? But you might have some Crips that do know some Bloods that did time with them before. But it's still, you can't be my friend really because we're going to be at war. And that's what happened. That's what happened. They killed a Crip in the gym in, I think, in 1983. And when we had, that was a big war. You know what I mean?
So Mexicans wasn't a focus for Blue Magic?
There wasn't a focus at all for Crips or Bloods back then. We didn't have a problem with that.
What year did Blue Magic end and why?
And why it turned into CCO? Because they had a Crip gang up in San Quentin called Machine. And nobody knows this. I guess everybody learning this for the first time. There's a lot of people that don't know this. Machine was San Quentin's gang, Crip gang, organized Crip gang. Blue Magic was Soledad and Tracy. So when all of us started going up to Quentin, you know, and they were Machine. So we were kind of like beefing a little bit. But then they consolidated. That's why they call it Consolidated Crip Organization. That's where the name came from.
And you didn't go with that transition?
I did try to twist me up when I first got there.
Why do you use the
Because
word
they were
twist?
they was trying to say that because I was a Blue Magic, I was automatically a CCO, and I didn't know no better. I was on death row on the yard. I was on their shoe program yard. I was in their whole yard. Like when they get in trouble, that's where they go. I was on that yard. I didn't have death penalty. They just didn't have nowhere to put me, and so. I was young, and they told me, you know, that crap, and I didn't know no better. You know.
So wait, the shoe program in San Quentin Death Row is right next to
That's
each other?
AC. It's called the Adjustment Center. It's the newest building in San Quentin. It was built like George Jackson was in there. It was built for the hard, like Charles Manson was my neighbor. It's like the worst of the worst.
And you're intermingling with death row inmates?
Yeah,
They put you guys on the same yard?
Yeah. I was on the yard with Feed, Tretch, Evil, all of them. Tookie.
This is where you met Took at.
Yeah.
Tell us a
Yes, sir.
Tookie story, man.
Tell you a Tookie story?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a positive Tookie story. Because everybody always going on the big Tookie, you know,
Well, let's do this.
I can tell you a funny Tookie story, too.
You could do that, but also tell us when you first met Tookie, the introduction.
The introduction? Well, you know, he was like, I'm Big Took, you know, and things like that. And I kind of, because I was cocky-eyed and sexy, but, you know. But the dude, he said, yeah, I'm Big Tookie. So I took it like I said, yeah, I heard of you, but you heard of me too. So he's like, I like that little nigga.
Well, let me rewind, because a lot of kids back then were so much in the mix of their own little politics and neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Tookie was a distant memory, right? When did you?
Not for me.
When did you first become aware of the name and the person Tookie?
Tookie? When I was like probably 12 years old or something. I mean, I grew up in the 30s, so we saw Tookie all the time. You know, I saw him at Sportsman's Park on the Dip Bar, at the Parliament Festival, the funk festivals where they broke the door down. Tookie and Jamel, all that.
Okay, now tell us a good Tookie story.
A good Tookie story. When he was doing the movie with J.B. Fox, you know, he called me, and he was supposed to go another way before that, and he set up some people with me, and we would have meetings, with the producers, and then this dude said something stupid and ran him away. That's why he went to Jamie. But before that, certain people would be like, "Yeah, man, I know Tookie." And this one dude said, I know Tookie. I used to be with Tookie every day. They all said that. And so I said, "Hey, Tookie, who is this dude?" I forgot his name. He's such a buster. But he said, "Oh, he a charlatan." Dog, I had to look in the dictionary. See, when Tookie talked to you or wrote you a letter, you had to have a dictionary. So I'm looking this. I couldn't even spell the word, dude. We didn't have Google. So when he called me again, I said, "Man, don't tell me no word like that, dude. You had me looking at a dictionary for 3 days, man."
So look, when you're saying calling, that means you're on the streets and you're in communication with Took.
Yeah, you calling me, yeah.
So you never took off once you paroled. You guys are still in communication.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Go on with your story, my bad.
No, that was it.
That was it? So look, so you became good friends with Tookie while you was in there and after you paroled?
More when I paroled because our mindset, and that's what I wanted to talk when I said it's a good story about Tookie. People don't know how smart he was. People didn't know how sharp Tookie was. You know what I mean? So our mindset, like I had got into church, I ended up being ordained as a pastor and all that. So, when he first approached me, I was like, "Man, I'm in God now, man. I can't be." He said, No. How you think I did all this? I think I did all this, dog. You know what I mean? So, we hooked up on that positive page, and that's why we were trying to put a lot of things together. So I became like his liaison or out on the streets to do stuff. You know what I mean? They got me out, bro. Tretch, Evil, Sparks, they got me out because of the situation I was in. I didn't have the death penalty. I didn't have life, and that's what they said. "Why are you here? Why are you still doing all this stuff and you still trying to hit people and all that? Go home. You want to help us? Go home. You want to help Crip? Go home."
Oh wow! So look, my question is going to be, they didn't pull you into Blue Notes?
No.
Was Tookie a Blue Note? Tookie's gone, buddy.
You better believe it.
And he didn't try to initiate.
Nah.
No?
See, the thing about being a gangbanger is a gangbanger. A gangster is a gangster. A gangster knows that you don't force nobody to be in it, because then you're gonna force him to snitch on. Because he's gonna be doing something he doesn't want to do, and he's gonna turn you over. I remember we on the yard having a meeting. We always got down, on one knee, and we talking about cutting out the bars on the Mexican, the one that killed Kajua in San Quentin, the Crip. I don't know if you ever. Yeah, it was the homie from Slow Drag from Gray Street. The Mexicans killed him up there in San Quentin. So the guy was on our tier.
According to newspaper reports, 21-year-old Louis Montgomery was stabbed to death by a member of the Mexican Mafia. Many Crips believe Montgomery was set up by correctional officers. Crips directed their anger at prison guards, stabbing one in the eye and hitting another on the head with a blunt instrument.
So we was finna get some hacksaw blades to cut out and get him, right? And so the one dude, and I ain't gonna say his name, but this is just so crazy that he was from Venice, supposed to be my enemy, right? He stood up, he said, "I ain't with that. I ain't with that. That's too much, man. I know I got life, but I ain't with that. I ain't trying to go to death row, all that." And so people got mad in the meeting, and they was gonna do something to him. I said, "Nah, man, leave him alone, man. Let him go. Let him go to the non-affiliated yard." And then they was asked him to lead a meeting, And then they was like, "Jesse, what you tripping on, homie? Why you taking up for that nigga?" I said, "Because he told you the truth. If you would have hit him right now, he probably would have told on all of us. You know what I'm saying? Let him go." So nah, they wasn't trying to make you. That was different between, and I never really, I wasn't a Blue Note, but they were more professional as far as Cripping go.
You was a Blue Note affiliate.
Yeah, I was an everything affiliate.
So let me ask you this. I'm kind of confused on you guys not having a death penalty, but intermingling with these guys. How many people like you were mingling with death row inmates?
One. I was the youngest inmate to go to AC. They came later, but when I first went, when I came up from Tracy, all the people that I was with, they took me from them and bought me the AC. So when I was in AC, without the death penalty, I was the only one for a long time.
How long were you there for? What years?
From like 83 to 85 or something like that. Yeah.
Let me interject real quick. What's your experience, or was there any like indoctrination or awareness about BGF recruiting Crips?
My awareness is that, you know, they were highly affiliated with them, and that's why we got into them. All of us, not just Blue Nose, all the Crips. So
how was BGF recruiting Crips? How did that go? Do you know?
yeah, I mean, basically organizations like, and I'll speak generally on it. Basically, organizations like BGF, they'll talk to you about blackness. They'll tell you, you know, y'all don't need to be fighting each other. And people that was born in some type of black unity type of family, that would appeal to them. Like a lot of Bloods become BGF. A lot of 415s up north come BGF because they you know, Crips are more Crips are more rebellious against everything. You know what I mean?
For the Damus and Keyways, homegirls and essays. For the old timers in the project playing OJs. Ride for my sections with weapons, I can't control it. I'm sober like a soldier, never loaded. Hold up, I keep it gangster, gangster, hey love, twisting my finger.